This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Libya seeks Egypt's support for political transition. The West African bloc ECOWAS member states agree to fight insecurity in the Sahel region. And South Africa deploys army medics to COVID-hit Gauteng province. Welcome to Africa Live on CGTN with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program, over 1 billion vaccine jabs administered on Chinese mainland. And Chadians in Nigeria protest to demand a democratically elected leader. Libyan Foreign Minister NAJLA MANGOUSH made her first official visit to Cairo on Saturday. She met with her Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry. The two ministers discussed the support that Libya needs to complete its transitional road to elections in December. Adel Mahroui has more details.
A few days ahead of the second Berlin International Conference on Libya, the Egyptian and Libyan foreign ministers met to discuss some of the pressing issues. This is NAJLA MANGOUSH's first official trip to Cairo. The Libyan foreign minister came to ask for Egypt's support in unifying Libya's security institutions.
We need to resolve the security aspect in Libya as soon as possible. Mercenaries must completely evacuate Libya. We have to deal with the presence of foreign military forces to restore Libya's sovereignty over the territories and to avoid Libya from sliding into another conflict between international powers. We must also resolve the militia status quo. They should be included in national security bodies whenever that is possible.
After years of suspending Egypt's diplomatic mission in Libya, the two countries have recently resumed the activity of the Joint Consular Committee. It is concerned with coordinating the efforts needed to reopen the Egyptian embassy in Tripoli and consulate in Benghazi. Libya's unity government has been working tirelessly to convince countries to resume their diplomatic missions. It's a much-needed step that would reflect the world's confidence in Libya's interim cabinet's ability to restore security and hold elections in December.
There are many security challenges. There are many economic challenges. We must resolve an inherited division that lasted for several years. The unity government comes to provide hope, but we must be realistic in our support to the political process. It is progressing slowly. There are local signs and international initiatives that promise support to the transition in Libya.
The two foreign ministers will meet again on Tuesday in Berlin. MANGOUSH says world powers can change the status quo by having a clear timeline to apply UN resolutions concerning Libya. With an over 1,000-kilometer long shared border, cooperation between Egypt and Libya is inevitable. This first-of-its-kind meeting between MANGOUSH and Shoukry in the Egyptian capital is an affirmation that the unity government still enjoys support from its neighbor, in hopes to put an end for this decade-long conflict within a 6 months' time by holding general elections. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Ethiopia is preparing for national and regional parliamentary elections on Monday. Millions of voters will head to polling stations across the country to cast their votes, but the elections will not be held in some parts due to logistical problems and insecurity. Here is CGTN's Girum Chala with more details.
This is going to be the 6th round of general elections in Ethiopia, and the once in 5 years polls will take place on Monday. The National Electoral Board says it has finished all preparations to stage what is expected to be a free and fair poll.
Regarding the announcement of results, that will be made on the night of the election day, and vote casting will take place from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. After 6 p.m., all polling stations will immediately count ballot papers. After concluding that, all polling stations will post their results on the same night.
The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia has barred campaigns on the last 4 days leading to election day.
This means in the last 4 days before the polling day, parties and candidates cannot hold meetings. Door-to-door campaigns will be forbidden. No paper or flyer distribution is allowed. Internet, social media or general online campaigns will be illegal during those days. Media houses should also be careful not to broadcast election campaign-related stories. The time for those is over. Now we want the people to understand ways of vote casting.
The African Union and several respective governments have sent teams of election observers to Ethiopia. The European Union has maintained that conditions are not favorable for it to observe the latest Ethiopian elections. Thousands of political party candidates alongside 148 private contenders now await the people's decisions to hold office for the next 5 years. But it is Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's Prosperity Party that has gotten the upper landslide victory prediction by experts and observers. CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Leaders of the Economic Community of West African states say they will work together to fight insecurity in their region. They met in Ghana's capital, Accra, for the 59th ECOWAS Ordinary Summit and agreed on plans to push their economies forward and tackle the COVID-19 crisis. Here's CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai with the details.
This meeting of West Africa's leaders was a chance to discuss threats to the region's security, political stability and economic development, and terrorism was high on the agenda.
We're still confronted with serious security challenges, with deadly terrorist attacks and kidnappings, not only in the frontline countries, namely Mali, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Niger, but also in the coastal countries of our region, such as Côte d'Ivoire. These developments should reinforce our collective commitment to pursue and implement with renewed vigor the decisions taken at our Extraordinary Summit on Terrorism.
While the leaders have agreed to work together to fight insecurity in the region, Ghana hopes to use its position as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council to also seek support.
Ghana will make sure that Africa's voice is heard loud and clear in the deliberations of the Security Council, both on matters affecting our region and the continent and on global issues. And we will consult broadly to define Africa's interests.
The region's response to COVID-19 and the slow pace of vaccine rollout were also discussed. The West African leaders have also decided to work together to help Nigeria, Senegal and Ghana to start production of their own COVID-19 vaccines. They believe this will help tackle the slump in vaccine supply to the sub-region. On the economic front, ECOWAS has agreed on a new roadmap for the adoption of a single currency, ECO, by 2027. The organization also plans to improve the social and economic development of the region.
15 member countries agreed to have the reform of the ECOWAS institution and to bring the number of commissioners from 15 to 7 commissioners. And I think that was, if there is one thing that we can take out of this summit, is this achievement, an important decision that was made by the head of state and government.
Mali was not represented at this ECOWAS summit as the country is still suspended from the organization. The West African leaders say they are monitoring the political situation there closely and want to be assured that the country will follow through with the transitional plan to hold elections early next year and hand over to a civilian government. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
South Africa is deploying army medical personnel to Gauteng, its commercial hub and most populous province, to help health workers battle a surge in coronavirus cases. The country has entered a third COVID wave, with new daily cases doubling over the past 2 weeks. Angelo Coppola has more on this developing story.
Gauteng province, home to the administrative capital Pretoria and Johannesburg, the financial hub, is the outbreak's current epicenter, accounting for about 60% of the latest daily increase. the province is feeling the pressure. It's called in the military health services to assist.
We'll be able to release the capacity of the beds that have been held because there were no human capital. So they will assist us in terms of moving into the hospitals, into the areas where we need healthcare practitioners to assist us in managing, because in terms of the beds, you have to have the human capital that is linked together with the beds that we are making available for managing the pandemic.
The role of the military healthcare practitioners will include another important responsibility.
The second area they will intervene and assist us is around mass testing and mass screening in community, and also the contact tracing. They will be able to assist us in terms of that, moving into how to.
The national inoculation program continues with the elderly, and shortly teachers and frontline security personnel, including the military, commencing their vaccination, while at the same time deploying to assist Gauteng.
The Defence Force are clearly the uniform members in terms of the Defence Act. And fortunately, the Defence Force has its own military health services, so they will be vaccinating their own members.
South Africa has 3 vaccines that it's currently using in its inoculation program.
So far, the vaccines that have been approved by SAPRA for emergency use is AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and J&J. The vaccines that we have in the pipeline are the Sputnik vaccine and the Sinovac vaccine.
There's no question that Gauteng is the epicenter of this third wave, and there's a combination of lack of beds and lack of personnel that needs to be resolved and resolved quickly. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Leaders from Russia, Pakistan, Israel, Turkey, Syria and Iraq have congratulated Ibrahim Raisi on his presidential victory. Election officials say the hardline judiciary chief garnered about 62% of the votes. His remaining rivals have conceded. Voter turnout was much lower than in previous polls. The 60-year-old conservative cleric will take over from Hassan Rouhani at a critical time. The country hopes to salvage a nuclear deal Washington walked away from in 2018 and revive an economy hard hit by U.S. sanctions. Raisi is among individuals targeted by the sanctions. Meanwhile, Sunday's talks on the Iran nuclear deal in Vienna have adjourned. Negotiators will now return to their respective capitals to work out the details. Tehran's delegation chief says an agreement to restore the 2015 agreement is close, but some differences are not easy to bridge. Iran, Russia, China, France, Britain, Germany and the European Union have been negotiating in Vienna since April to work out a way forward since the United States withdrew from the deal in 2018. Chinese health authorities say the mainland has administered more than 1 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses to the population. The Foreign Ministry says China has provided over 350 million doses to other countries and regions. Chinese vaccines have been given at a faster pace following the World Health Organization's approval of Sinopharm in May and Sinovac in June for global emergency use. Our reporter Sen Shiwan has the details on the Chinese mainland's vaccination program.
I want to bring this into a context to understand how fast this is done. So on June 15, that was when the 900 million doses was announced. That was within 5 days in comparison to the 800 million. So that was very fast. And let's go back to in March. So when it hit 100 million doses, so it's from 100 to 200 million doses, it took 25 days. And then that process actually speed up. So it's from 200 to 300 million, that's actually only 18 days. And that continued to speed up from 300 to 400 million doses, that's only 8 days. And then we come to 800 to 900 million. That's done within a week. And I want to share with you what chief expert of the Chinese CDC, Xiao Yiming, says. He says daily vaccination can reach 20 million doses per day. What's that mean? China is capable to have the production capacity to meet such huge demand to make the vaccination done. So that's a big deal for the entire chain, from production line to go off to the market to be used, to be injected into human body. So that's a big deal capable to reach such a demand. And I want to fill you in a little bit. There are a total of 7 Chinese COVID-19 vaccines that are in use or earn emergency use in this area.
And we still have more news for you here on the program. To stay with us.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo,
Juba,
Johannesburg, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Chadian nationals in Nigeria have marched to various diplomatic missions in Abuja and called on the international community to help restore a democratically elected government in their country. Chad is now being led by Mahamat Deby, the son of the late president of the country, Idriss Deby, who died in April. Mahamat, a general in the Chadian army, heads the Transitional Military Council, which has been running the government since the death of the former president. CGTN's Deji Badmos has more on the story.
It's a rare sight in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. A group of Chadians protesting right in front of the Chad embassy, demanding that the current government of their country steps down for a democratically elected one.
What is going on in Chad is lawful, unconstitutional, is a military coup. Military junta are there, are illegitimate, they don't represent the will of Chadians, they are not for Chad, they are not for Chadians. We are denouncing the military coup. What we are demanding for a democratic system, democratic government, a civilian government. Enough of militarization of our nation, enough of military rule, enough of military dictatorship.
From the Chadian embassy, the group marched to the French embassy in the city. They accused the French government of undue interference in the affairs of Chad, demanding that it stops.
The French government was the one orchestrated the coup, who was behind the instability, who is intimidating the Chadian people. They are the responsible for our insecurity, instability, our hunger, our diseases, our crisis, whatever have been orchestrated in Paris and imported to us. We would like to show France should remain a friendly nation, not a destructive mean to us.
37-year-old Mahamat Deby was named interim president of Chad and his late father's successor by a transitional military council back in April. The council is expected to last for 18 months, after which a democratically elected government will be ushered in. But the opposition has criticized the arrangement, saying it's a continuation of the Idriss Deby political dynasty.
Chad is not kingdom. Chad is country democrat. So anything according to the law, if the vacancy of the president, neither the president for assembly as the president of the Senate, now they take over. But there is no way the Pekin take over as a general. This is a joint military. We don't need it.
The new military leader has been courting the support of regional leaders, and that appears to be paying off as regional pressure against his government is muted for now. Chad is widely considered very crucial in the fight against jihadis in the Sahel and West Africa, so regional leaders are handling the political situation in the country with extreme caution to ensure it doesn't degenerate into a regional security crisis. Deji Badmos, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead. Former world javelin champion Julius YEGO hopes to win Kenya another Olympic medal in Tokyo.
This has taken me completely out of my depth, but at the same time it's exciting. It's new, it's different, it's a challenge.
It's really exciting.
Former world javelin champion Julius YEGO has promised to improve his performance at the Tokyo Olympic Games that will officially begin on the 23rd of July. YEGO is the only Kenyan athlete in the field events to qualify for the Games in Tokyo when he met the qualifying range with an 87.73 meters throw at the 2019 African Games in Rabat. His first and only throw of 88.24 meters before he got injured in Rio 2016 was enough to earn him a silver medal back then. Speaking to CGTN after the naming of the Kenyan track and field Olympic team on Saturday, YEGO said he could still use the next few weeks to sharpen his skill.
The whole of last year I never competed, and you know the effects of not competing for a long period as an elite athlete. But I'm happy that I'm back competing again, so I think I was just smiling competing in a stadium. Like last year, I never entered any stadium to compete, so coming back again next week for serious training. To me, I think because of lack of training, I have to do my training like a competition so that, I pick up form and ready for the Olympics.
Tokyo 2020 held a transport operation drill on Sunday in preparation for the opening and closing ceremonies of the Games. About 750 staff from Tokyo 2020 Organizing Committee acted as athletes who boarded 80 buses at the Olympic and Paralympic Village and headed to Japan's National Stadium, while 62 other buses drove separately from the media center and a hotel where the Olympic officials are designated to stay. Foreign spectators are banned from attending the Games, delayed by a year due to the pandemic. But the government and Tokyo 2020 organizers have for months held off on deciding whether to allow Japanese spectators into the stadiums.
We are taking the measures such as disinfecting the bus the day before or on the day of the operation, requesting people to disinfect their hands and fingers before boarding the bus, and asking them to wear a mask and refrain from talking in the bus. All the people related to the Olympic Games will gather at this place for the opening ceremony on the 23rd of July, so there'll be a high demand for transportation on that day. It is our duty to make sure that transport operation goes steadily.
Cycling, and Rwanda is looking forward to sending its team